Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
Hello?
Yeah, here we are. Hello,
sorry,
everyone. That's all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Streaminn HUBB Radio. I'm Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. And today, my guest is an indie producer, director, and film distributor. He is responsible for licensing several thousand films worldwide and has a film library of about 500,000 titles. His films include Kirsten Dunst, Jack Nicholson, Halle Berry, Christina Ricci, Clea Duvall, Natasha Lyonne, and many, many more. And I want to welcome to Shout Out with Sage today, Emilio Ferrari. Hey,
Hi,
Emilio.
how are you?
How are you? Thanks
I'm
for
good.
joining us. We had a few technical issues today,
Right,
but
right.
hey, we're
Sorry, I'm
making
in my
it
car.
happen. It's okay. As I said, we're a bit late. So, okay. So you are a film distributor and a film director, producer. How did you get into the entertainment industry?
Well, I started when I was like 15. I just hustled my way in as a second AD, and then I became an assistant director, and then from then everything kind of led on.
Were connections and networking a key component of that?
Hustle, pretty much.
Right.
It was all a big, you just have to hustle to get your first job. You have to lie and try to get in. The saying, what came first, the chicken or the egg? If you don't have experience, nobody wants to hire you. But if you have experience, then you have to find a way. So when you're 15, you have no experience. So you have to lie about your age and kind of just hustle your way in, learn. And then once you start learning, then you can start actually working, But I had to lie a lot when I was young, say I was older, and get my first few gigs. And then after that, it just, it was elementary, really.
What was your first gig? What was your first job?
Wow. There's a director by the name of Jonathan Demme. He died a while back. He's a very famous director. He directed Silence of the Lambs and a lot of big movies. And I hustled my way into one of his films as a production assistant, even though I was only 15. And he actually caught me, and I had to tell him that I was underage. But he didn't fire me and, gave me an opportunity to learn from him while he directed. Great director. I mean, he's directed a lot of big movies, amazing guy. That was my first experience. And then from that on, I made my first movie as a producer when I was 17 in Santa Barbara. It's called Borderline. It was a TV film. And then from that on, it just, once you figure it out, then you just have to hustle and get more work. And I realized in those days,
I'm going to interrupt you. Figure what out exactly? Like how
figure out what you're good at. There's so many different positions in a film. You have to figure out what works for you. Everybody wants to be a director, I mean, but it's very hard to be a successful director making a living at it. So you have to figure out. I started out as an actor, and I didn't work out really well. I didn't like acting, I did act in like 6 or 7 films, but it just didn't work out. So from that on, I was 14, 15, young. I thought acting was not for me. So I need to figure out something behind the scenes. And I always wanted to direct. But like I said, everybody wants a director's chair, So I realized it was not going to be easy to be a director. You have to start somewhere else and then work your way in, And so I started line producing, assistant directing, and learned how films were made, and then kind of worked my way into as a distributor and then a producer. And then I had opportunities to direct,
So for people that don't know, what is a film distributor?
A film distributor is someone who, so the easiest way to describe it, when movies come out in theaters and television, on video, on streaming, somebody had to sell those movies from the company that made those movies to the companies that released the movies. So we're in the middle, not only do we release our own films, but we also pick up movies from other producers and help them release it all over the world. Now, in North America, we're not direct distributors because the studios do that. The streamers are here. But internationally, we're distributors / sales agents. So what we do is we place movies in all the places where the movies can go. Like I said, whether it's streaming, whether it's video, whether it's television, or the movie has the ability to play theatrical. There will be 40 markets worldwide. There's a lot of countries, So a lot of times you sell these countries separately.
Okay.
And that is what a distributor, aka sales agent in certain ways, role comes into play.
How do you go about picking a film? Like, is there certain things you look for? Like,
Sure. I mean, you want to pick movies that are commercial. I mean, look, there's a lot of independent movies made every year that don't see the light of the day because they're just not commercial. The key really is to know where your movie's going to sell before you make the film. Hence development. The studio spends millions and millions of dollars each year developing each film. They're not stupid. They do it because they want to make sure, after the research, after checking with all the major distributors internationally, what works. So we do the same thing. We'll take a project and then we'll put it together, we'll package it, and then we'll, ask our clients what works and what doesn't. And so commercially, a movie has to make sense for us. We're not in the business of making art films. We don't have that kind of leverage a studio does where they can lose money and still be profitable in the other films. Our job is to make money regardless of the movie by movie. So we're very careful, and we also pre-sell some of our films ahead of time.
And can you explain how the pre-sale thing works?
Yeah, pre-sales is when you sell a film, the rights to a movie, to a territory or a country before you make the film, and you collect a minimum guarantee for them. A minimum guarantee is something international distributor would pay you ahead of time in order to block the film for them. So once the movie's completed, then you deliver the movie to them, and then they pay the balance. Okay. So I mean, and that is really what a pre-sale is. Now, a smaller movie would not pre-sell. Only a big movie you can pre-sell with a known cast. So you can sell a movie for like a few $1 million because unless it's a film that has names. So certain actors have value as a pre-sale and certain actors don't. So unless you have a film that's commercially viable with a cast that has value, you're not able to pre-sell.
Okay. So like certain actors, I was also told that directors sometimes have pre-sale value. Is that true?
But you have to be on the top of the food chain in order for that to happen.
Right.
There's only maybe 6 or 7 directors who can sell a film just on their names.
Okay.
So that's not a lot of directors.
Right.
But there's a lot more actors that you can sell a movie based on their names.
Right.
So obviously it's much easier as an actor. But most of the top directors work for the studios. They're not really independent guys. I mean, the Spielbergs, the Ridley Scotts, Tarantino, and the few others. These are the top guys. So their movies are funded by studios. They don't go looking for money independently. So the rest of the directors below them, some have good value, and some attach themselves to a better cast. So together they have a good value. So and that's really how you pre-sell a film. It's really the package. So if you have an action movie, the action film itself is valuable, plus the director and the lead actors. And obviously the budget is really important in this day and age. You have to make movies for smaller budgets because the market has changed. The theatrical market is starting to come back now after the pandemic, especially because of Tom Cruise, his film, and he had a big role to play because at the time he released his film, the theatrical market was pretty much dead. So a lot of credit goes to him because he was able to bring it back. And then since that, the movies have done. Scream made a lot of money recently. John Wick 4 is out. It's going to probably do well. So the theatrical market is coming back. But again, a lot of the movies that were supposed to be in theaters now don't go into theaters. They go to the streamers, because Netflix and now literally every studio has its own streaming service. There's Disney, there's Paramount Plus just started. Paramount Plus is the latest, they're the biggest and the latest, and they're just opening all over the world as we speak. They're not there yet, but they're at least in 6 or 7 markets, but they're coming around. And then there's obviously Disney Plus, and then there's, Netflix, and then there's Hulu, and there's all these other smaller streamers like Tubi and Freeze, and these are all, they do pretty well. And then Peacock, of course, which is NBC Universal combined, they have like 63 million viewership. So the streaming services will pick up theatrical movies that they don't actually release in theaters, but are able to pay the producers if they can convince them to release it in the streaming. What that does for the producer is he doesn't have to sit and wait to get his money. The streamers will pay you up front to take your film. And if the movie is not exactly a powerful theatrical movie, we have done it. We have released movies. We have sold movies to streamers, even though we thought they would do well theatrically, but it was a big risk. So we thought it's easier to just sell it to a streamer, because when you try to release a movie theatrically, you have to spend P&A. So if the movie's not going to perform, you don't make any money, because the P&A takes away all the money. So you end up with nothing.
What's P&A for people who don't know?
Advertising, money you need to advertise the film to release it. So a domestic distributor, who is the major studios, and there's a few smaller ones, they have to add that to the top, plus their commission. So the movie has to generate a lot more than that in order for the producer to see a nickel. And a lot of the times that doesn't happen. So you may end up getting a movie out in theaters and end up losing a lot of money, compared to just giving to a streamer where you're profitable, because there is no expenses except for the delivery that you have to pay for. So those are the decisions you have to make as a distributor, as a sales agent, on behalf of the films.
Right. Is there a certain type of film, like genre-wise, that you're looking for that sells better, or again, it depends on each individual market?
No, I mean, listen, you have to cater to the key markets. The rest will just follow. I mean, the biggest market is North America. China is a big market, but China is not really good for American films, because you can't really get money out of the country anymore like you used to. Now, if you're an independent guy, what you get up front is all you're going to get, because they don't keep records of anything. You can't go after these guys. There's no accountability, put it that way.
Right.
So your biggest market is North America. Your second biggest market is Germany, UK, Japan, South Korea, Spain, Italy. Latin America is a big market, but Mexico and Brazil is over 90% of your revenues. The rest is just too small. The rest of the Asian countries are just pennies. Piracy is a big issue. So Australia is okay. It's not a big market, but it's okay. Australia, New Zealand, you sell together. But if you can cater the movie to North America and UK and Germany, these are your biggest markets. If these markets sell well, you're profitable. If you're not able to sell one of these markets, the movie will definitely lose money.
So, if you're a filmmaker and you're just starting out, then could you approach a sales agent or a distributor to find out what you're looking for in a film?
Not really. I mean, these guys are not exactly, I mean, look, if you're a first timer, either you're a good writer, write something yourself. If you're not a good writer, find somebody who is and collaborate, because the script is everything. Even though writers don't get enough credit in Hollywood, they really don't. Because script is everything. You can't fix a bad script once you make the movie. A shitty script is a shitty movie, unless you got Mel Gibson, like the movie Payback, where it was just a story and you made a movie out of it and it was amazing. But that's the actor. Mel Gibson is a star. He was able to pull that off without even telling a full story. But that happens once in a while. But script is everything. Without a good script, I don't care how good the actors are, how good the director is, the movie will still not be good. You can take a good script and have mediocre cast and director, and it's still a good movie, because the script is the very foundation of anything. So I think people that are good writers, should definitely spend time learning and practicing writing, because that is really the key to success. A good script is absolutely the very, very first thing anybody should look at. And then if you have a good script, you'll get good talent with it, because talent is attracted to good projects. I think if he's a first timer, I think technology is really advanced now. You can make your own movie. You don't have to go out and spend $1 million doing it. Make a short film. Make something that's amazing that doesn't cost that much. A short film will lead you to something bigger and better. If you make an amazing short film, agents and managers will have an opportunity to look at it. And if you're talented, that will be a stepping stone to something better, because you don't have the ability to make a full feature. I tell my actor friends all the time, don't show people a shitty reel, because they judge you from the reel. Unless your reel is better than you, don't show it. Just present yourself, because that way they're going to watch you. Now, if you give them a reel that's not very good, they will judge you based on the reel. And if the reel is not good and they don't like it, they won't even audition you anymore. So, all the actors are very gung-ho about, I need a reel. So they'll go out and have their buddies shoot little bit videos of them. That's terrible. Don't do that, because, unless you have some movie in your, you've made even if it's one good scene, from a movie, fine. But don't just shoot stuff and make it looks crappy and then put it on a reel and expect people to hire you, and then they won't. So it's better to just be yourself. If you don't have the experience, don't fake shit. A lot of my friends do that, and I tell them don't. So I think for first timers, the best thing they can do is go out and shoot something. Shoot it on your phone. I mean, look at the phone. I mean, it's 1080. It's you can shoot 4K out of your telephone, out of your cell phone. But be creative. I mean, the technology is so advanced now. You don't need. When I was growing up, we didn't have any of this stuff. Everything was 35 millimeter or 16 millimeter. I mean, those cameras were expensive. Film is expensive, but you don't have those issues now. Everything is video. Everything is it's so much easier as far as technology is. But you still have to be good. So I think the key to be successful as a director is to hire good people around you. I think a great director is somebody who knows how to delegate and have amazing people around him that make him look good. Because Ben Affleck is a perfect example. I don't think he's that good of a director, but he has amazing people around him that make him look amazing. Right. There's certain directors that are just good. Like Tarantino, you don't need anybody. He can just direct on his own. Even if it didn't have amazing people around him. So is Ridley Scott and Spielberg. And these guys are seasoned guys. When it comes to actors, like Clint Eastwood and Ben Affleck and these guys, amazing actors, but I always say they have amazing guys around them that they've had their whole lives. They work with the same people that make them look good, Mel Gibson,
your team and everyone around you.
Your team is really important as a director, and I think you need an amazing cinematographer that understands you, that knows what you want even before you say it. I mean, these guys have been with you for a long time. And I think if you look at some of the top directors, they always have a producing partner they've had for years. Somebody that takes the brunt of all the madness. So it doesn't come on to the director, He handles all the stuff he needs to handle on his behalf and protects the director. So the director can just direct. It's hard to direct a movie. It's hard to manage A-list actors and the egos and everything else. It's hard to be on budget and do all the stuff you need to do.
Yeah. Speaking of budget, how does budget influence your decision to take a film on to distribute?
Well, I mean, the budget has to be based on the value of the film, based on the cast. I mean, you can't have a movie that's $20 million and there are no stars in it. I mean, nobody's going to make that movie. I mean, you have to. You can't budget a film unless you know who's in it or what the movie's about. If you're going to do a sci-fi movie or a historical piece, those are expensive, So you automatically know it's going to cost a certain amount. But I think the cast and the director are the key drivers of what a budget of the film should be. And regardless of the genre, I think, I mean, there are movies made, you can see there are a lot of successful horror movies that were made in one house. I mean, I think the key is to find scripts that are amazing, that don't have 1,000 locations, that have only a few locations. There are ways to minimize a budget based on, what you're trying to shoot. I mean, look, man, Braveheart was an epic. They shot the movie for what, 30 million, I think? I mean, it's impossible to make a movie like that for 30 million in this day and age, So I think, Avatar was 300 million. I mean, it depends what you're making. Anything could be shot for any amount. It really depends on how good or bad the movie is. But at the end of the day, a budget should be based on the value of the film, the cast and the director.
Right. So. With a new filmmaker who's wanting to start out in the industry, what would your biggest advice to them be right now?
You have to learn the craft, I mean, unless you know, you don't know. I mean, nobody hires idiots. You have to be good at something, go out there and learn, even if it's free. Work for people that are good and learn from them, because knowledge is the key. And there's no knowledge in school. I mean, they got all these film schools and everything, great. But I think film schools is a complete waste of time and money. If you brought me something who had a degree from film school, from I don't care which school, I'm not going to name schools here, or somebody who's been working for the past 5 years, I'm going to hire the guy working for the past 5 years, because to make a movie, it's practical knowledge, not reading a book. That doesn't teach you shit. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Hustle. You got to be like, if you're young, you got to hustle, get some job, even if it's a PA job. work your way up. Learn, look at the set, how people work, educate yourself, and then find out what it is that you're good at. Not everybody's good at everything. Pick one field. You can't say I'm going to be a writer, director, producer, editor, everything. No, that comes later. Pick a field that works for you, that you're good at, and then spend all your time and energy trying to work on it. Listen, it's a tough business. Not the business part of it, just the creative part of it. You have to really know. Directing is technical stuff. But if you don't have the money to go to a school, it's fine. Watch movies. Watch behind the scenes. I'm not saying don't read books. You can read them, but books are not going to teach you everything. You have to physically do it. Go make a movie. I don't care if it's a shitty movie. Just make one. Because you only learn from bad experiences. If something was amazing and it was a good experience, you're going to learn from it because it was a good experience. So my first few movies were horrible that I made. I still sold them, but they were not that great because you're learning.
Right. It's a craft. It's like anything.
So find somebody that'll give you some money to lose, just to learn the craft. But then again, technology is good now. You don't need a lot of money. You can make a little movie for $5,000. Right. Even less, $1,000. Because it's just your phone, right? And a sound guy and some actors. Go out there and experience it. Learn. I think knowledge is the key.
You have just been overseas filming some stuff yourself, correct?
Yeah, we made a TV show in Mongolia. It's called Wolf Warrior. It's a 10-part series about Genghis Khan, who's the greatest. He is by far the greatest conqueror of all times.
Right.
He conquered nearly 80% of the world, way more than Alexander the Great or anybody before or after him. The Mongolians were brutal. These guys, Genghis Khan was the greatest, conqueror of all time. So this entire show was shot in Mongolia, which is freezing, by the way, in the middle of nowhere. And 10 episodes, an hour long, 10 hours. We're just finishing it right now. It should be out later this year. I don't know on what streaming channel it'll be on, but it'll definitely be out in one of the big ones. We have a lot of interest. So, and we should see what happens.
What made you decide to go to pick that?
It's commercial. It's very commercial. The historical stuff always works. Look at Vikings. Look at barbarians. Rome. Look at Lord of the Rings. Look at Games of Thrones. Narnia. All of this stuff is very mythological, very cool, and I love stuff like that. So when this game came around, I definitely wanted to jump in and be part of it. So we're going to start selling this at the TV market coming up, MIP TV, in middle of April in Cannes, France. And I'll see how we do. But I think the show itself, we spent a lot of money. We spent $11 million making it. So it's $1 million an episode. So I think we did save a lot of money because shoot something like this in Europe and America would be double, at least, if not more. So it's very epic. We use 8-9 cameras. It's the scenery is very beautiful, mountains, and and Mongolia is really in between Russia and some of the other Eastern European countries, and so we'll see what happens.
How important are the film markets and festivals now that we have streaming? Are they still relevant? Like, there's been a lot of talk. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the problem is there's 8 million film festivals. Right. And most of them I've never heard of, but they're good for young filmmakers to get PR. We concentrate on the big ones only. We'll do the Cannes Film Festival every year. We haven't missed it in 26 years. We missed the pandemic. We missed 1 year, but it wasn't. They didn't do it that year. But that's an important festival. Berlin is important. Toronto is important. Sundance is important. There's a San Sebastian in Spain. It's not the most important, but if you have a movie that caters to that kind of thing, then that's a good festival. Busan in Korea is a good festival if you have a movie that caters to the Asian market pretty well. It really depends. There's only about 5 or 6 big festivals that are worth it. The rest are just there, and not every movie will get into these 5 festivals. So there's a lot of great movies that don't get into the festivals. Then you have to go to the other festivals. There's Telluride is important for smaller films. Austin Film Festival is good. Tokyo Film Festival is good in Japan. If you have a movie that caters to that kind of a market, Japan is a very difficult market to sell an American film. So if you have something that caters to that market, it really helps. Markets, I think, are very important, even though you don't need a market to sell your film or TV show. But a market is important because the buyers want to make sure you're in business. So the market is important for you to show up, to convince the buyers to give you money on movies you haven't made yet. The buyers are smart people. They're not stupid. So if they don't see you in any of the markets, they don't really think you're in business. Okay. So it's important to show up in the right markets. Even though you may not do a lot of business, a lot of the business is done between the markets. It's a great time to mingle with the buyers, to have dinners and drinks. Listen, the business is about dinner and drinks, really, at the end of the day. That's how most of the business is done. Most of the movies we have picked up or made with our partners are through these meetings and that we have done, where you find the right niche and somebody's doing a movie that you want to be part of and they need help and vice versa. So I think the markets, Cannes Film Festival is really important. The biggest markets, there's a festival next to it. Cannes Film Festival has a market. Berlin Film Festival has a market. American film market used to be a big market till they screwed it up. They moved it. They deliberately moved it to screw it up. They moved American film market from February to November. There was no reason to do that. And when they did that, the market, half the appeal of the market was gone. Because Berlin was not a big market at that time, or a festival. Because the American film market was at that time. So that's when they moved it. Berlin became a big market and festival. And American film market just became another small. It's not really a big market anymore. There's not a lot of business done. I hate to say it, because it's in Santa Monica, and we would think that should be a big market. It's just not. And Berlin is a big market now. Toronto is a big market. But they all have festivals. So what they did with AFM, they put AFI next to it. It hasn't helped. It's really not. Nobody releases a big movie at American film market anymore. I'm not trying to minimize the market. I'm just saying that market is not that important anymore.
But why does changing that date affect its success?
Because it depends when people are making movies. Timing is important when you make a movie. So November is not a good time. February is a good time. It's the beginning of the year. There's nothing else competing with you. Look at how the markets are divided. There's February, there's late April, late May, right? There's nothing in between.
Right.
Film markets. Then there's September. You see how they're divided. So depending on whenever you make a movie, you'll have a market after to get it out there. November is not exactly a great time. It's the end of the year, and it's kind of you're getting the leftovers of the year in a way. So we don't like releasing anything new at AFM. Nobody does. They wait for Venice, they wait for Toronto, they wait for Cannes or Berlin, or even San Sebastian. These are the big film markets, big festivals. That people wait for the openings. And don't forget, these people that run these festivals hustle to get the studios to bring their big movies, to open. They don't just plan to do it. It's the reason Cannes is so relevant is because the people that run the festival there and the TV markets are very good at convincing everybody. Listen, we had a great market called MIFED in Milan. That was a great market. Disappeared like 8-9 years ago. Completely gone like this. Now, I get it, Italians are not very good at running anything, but it was a great market, made a lot of money. But somehow the Italians didn't hustle enough to keep the market relevant. So there's no markets in Italy anymore. All the markets are in France, 3 of them now. You got 2 big TV markets there and the film festival. So the French have been very good at keeping all the business on their territory. And you have to give them credit. And those are the 3 biggest markets of the year, the 2 TV markets and the film market.
What do you love most about the entertainment biz?
Travel, money. The headache is a lot of headache. I don't like the politics. I'm not a big into Hollywood. I kind of stay away from that shit.
Politics meaning what exactly?
Everything. Movies that look, the people that run the business are not creative or filmmakers. They're run by lawyers and and managers and agents and people that I call them people that don't have the talent to actually make a movie, but they control the purses and they control the strings of everyone. Especially, I mean, you look at the agencies, they're very powerful. They represent the actors. They decide what movies these actors go in. Do actors have an ability to choose? Sometimes, but most of the time, the agents choose for them or position it in a way to tell the actor this is what you should make. And there's nothing wrong with that. Agents are very smart people. They know, the big agents. Some agents are extremely intelligent and know what's going on. A lot of them don't, and that separates the boys from the men, But I think the business is not run by filmmakers. It's run by, the business end of it.
Right.
So I think in that area, decisions are made based on the guys making the majority of the money, the studios. So I think a lot of times you'll see directors disagree with the cuts they get, or disagree with the with the studio executives or what they want in a film, and they always lose because the guys putting up the money pretty much control what unless you're Spielberg, unless you've got to a point where you get your own cut. I mean, there's not a lot of people that have that. Maybe 3 or 4 directors can pull that shit off. The rest of them just have to go with the flow, and most of the time the studios make the right decisions, but sometimes they don't. The movies fail. So I think I'm not big into the politics part of it. We're a small company. We make a lot of movies and sell a lot of movies, but we're still a small company, and we don't have anybody telling us what to do. Sure, we make a lot of mistakes, but there are mistakes, So I think as you get higher into the budgets, the politics gets bigger. We don't make $100 million movies. We stay from 30 million and under. We don't really cross that number. Most of our films are like between 5 and 20. We don't even get to 30. And as long as we don't cross 15, 20 million, we can do it on our own. Once you start getting into the bigger budgets, you can't do it on your own. You need partners. You need to bring the studios in. You need big partners because the numbers are high.
Right.
If I'm going to go out and make a $7, $8 million movie, I can do it on my own. I don't need 50 partners because it's not a big enough budget, But I think when you start making big films, it's a collaboration and it's a lot of politics involved. I try to stay out of all that stuff. I try.
How does packaging work in the film, in film production?
Well, packaging is important in films and in television. The studios they're big players when it comes to packaging. The whole fight between the Writers Guild with the studios was about that, where the writers were not getting paid, properly, and I think they were able to come up with a solution. It was pretty brutal, actually, But I think packaging is something the studios are very good at. They have packaging departments that package movies. How does a movie get packaged? You have a great script. The agency will bring their own directors, their actors into it, and put it together and find the money for it or fund it through one of their partners. That's a package. So big agencies like CAA, WME, UTA, they're the 3 biggest ones. They do have the ability to fund their own films through their partners. I'm not saying they didn't use other actors from other agencies. Sure, they can, but majority are from their agencies. And a lot of these big agencies now have their own sales agents. There are sales agents too. Even though it's a big conflict of interest, but there's nobody there strong enough to tell them you can't do it.
Well, that was part of what the writers' strike was about, was it not?
I mean, the writers couldn't defeat them. I mean, we have no shot. I think the studios have the leverage and the agencies have the leverage to pretty much do whatever they want. And there's nobody there questioning it, because think about it. You have an agency that represents the writers and the directors and the producers, and they're getting their fee for it, and they're charging a production fee plus the fee for the actors, and now they're sales agents collecting a fee for selling it. So now they're making money 3-4 times,
right?
Which legally is not allowed. But again, it's a very gray area, where most of the sales agents, including us, we have to collaborate with them on certain movies in order to get the actors. I mean, they control the actors, Whoever controls the actors pretty much is in a position of power, because nobody's going to give you money unless you have the stars. Right. You're not going to have the stars unless you're in bed with these agencies. You see, I mean, so it's all very controlled, But again, I mean, a lot of movies are being made independently outside of the studio system, because the studios are only making the big tentpole movies, 100, 200, $300 million movies. But then there are companies like us and a couple of bigger companies than us that sell them the rest of the movies that the studios can release with their names on it. So they'll buy them from us. And then,
Right.
It's called, they can do a negative pickup,
What's a negative
A
pickup?
negative pickup is something where the studio comes in while you're shooting and makes you an offer to take over the film, to distribute it. A lot of time they'll distribute in North America, or a lot of the time they'll take the entire film. We don't like selling our entire film to a studio. We'll sell them North America or certain territories, because our biggest business is selling. So if you give the movie away, then you're not making a commission on it or expenses on it. So I mean, our job is to get the best deals for our clients, which sometimes we are the clients also, and to make sure that we can get the movie or the TV show out to most people as possible. So we like to sell North America and then literally sell internationally ourselves. But when I sell internationally ourselves, we can still sell it to the same studio in that particular country. For example, Warner Brothers is an American studio, but Warner Brothers is all over the world. There's Warner Brother in the UK, in Germany, in France, in Italy, all over the world, Australia. So, but they work independently from those territories, even though they're owned by the parent company in the US. So we've done that in the past. But it's better for us as an independent sales agent and distributor to sell independently each territory. That way we make more money.
Right.
Unless the movie is so in demand that we get such a huge number, then we say fine. That doesn't happen very often. Every once in a while it can happen, So
What would your biggest advice be to someone wanting to make the move to Los Angeles?
I would advise them, don't. Stay away from LA. There's nothing good in LA. Not anymore. Unless you've already been here for a decade and just used to the grind, I wouldn't recommend coming here. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but
no, I like you, Emilio, because you have your opinion and you just are a straight shooter. So
I will not. If I was just starting out, moving to LA would be the last thing on my mind. If I just knew how screwed up LA is, I think you can be a filmmaker anywhere in the world.
Right.
One thing Netflix has taught us, that amazing movies and TV shows are made all the time that are not American made or English made. There are a lot of countries that make amazing TV, especially television. There's a lot of amazing TV product coming out of literally every country. Look at Turkey, great TV shows. India makes great TV shows. Pretty much all of Asia, Korea, Japan. I mean, even the Middle East. I mean, look at any country in the world. There are good filmmakers everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. There's great stories.
And Netflix has those TV shows and movies on there. So I think if you want to be a filmmaker, you can start wherever you are. You can move to LA once you've established a little bit. I mean, moving to LA just like with nothing, it's really hard because LA is very expensive now. It's not like the good old days when LA used to be very cheap. To survive in LA having nothing is hard. But you can be in anywhere else in the world and you can survive and have a decent life without having this much money. So I think wherever you are, anywhere in the world, look at the Russians. I know everybody's talking shit about Russia. Russians make great movies. I sold some of their war movies. Oh my God. If you look at the World War II movies, they're amazing. They're as good as any American movie. Look at Leningrad. Look at, we've sold some of their movies, 1812, Quiet Flows of Dawn. I mean, these guys make amazing TV series and films, as good as anyone else. And for them, it's a lot cheaper to make. So, I mean, you can learn anywhere and start. And once you feel like you got the gist of it, then to move to LA and try to, make a name for yourself makes sense.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I think it's really hard. I mean, everybody I went to film school with, I don't know one person that's actually in the movie business.
Yeah, when I was in a conservatory, and I think there's only maybe 2 of us left out of 25 that are still even in entertainment. So
yeah, so I mean, it's that hard, So I don't recommend you moving here without any knowledge or experience and no money. I don't think it's a good idea. I think stay where you are, learn the craft, make a little money, then move here so you have at least a year. If you're not working, just hustling, to survive. You know, you can't learn if you're living on the street. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a little stressful,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
A lot of us became waiters and stuff. I didn't become a waiter because I was terrible at it. But a lot of my friends are waiters and, you know, bartenders, because that gives them the ability to go to auditions and do the stuff.
Right.
Sure, you can do that, but it's a tough life, you know. Or you can stay home and let your parents pay for you when you're young and just learn.
Right. Do the work and get experience. Was there anyone in your life who really helped you out when you were first starting out?
Unfortunately, I would love to say yes, but no. I mean, one thing I remember, a wise man once, I'm not going to name the director, he's really famous, said to me, everybody wants you to fail, especially in the business. He said, if you're a director sitting in a director's chair, all the crew members looking at you want you to fail. Because that's the chair everybody wants. So they can't wait for you to fuck up. So they can say, look, I told you. You have no friends. The only people that want you to succeed are the ones next to you whose career is tied to yours. So that's just a couple of people. But the majority want you to fail. All right? And that's really the business you're in. You don't really have any friends. You know? Okay. You have competitors and you have... you can call them your friends, mostly acquaintances. You know, I mean, because you're in a business that's so competitive that even your friends deep down want you to fail, because it's just the way it is. And I didn't realize that until I actually got in the game, where it's so true. I mean, the evil eye is out there. Your
experience?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I mean, you know, the first lawsuit I ever had, I freaked out. It was a movie that I wrote. And somebody sued me for copyright infringement. They lost, of course, but there was a big company and a rich company. And I freaked out and I called my mom. And my mom's reaction was very simple. She said, well, people don't sue you unless you have something they want. So if you want to know you're on the way to success, is by the lawsuits. You've been sued, so assume now things are looking up to you. Now go and defend yourself. You know, I was like, that's not helping, Mom. You know? And it was they sued me in federal court in Philadelphia. I will never forget, for a movie that I wrote, and they lost. But see, lawsuits are not about winning and losing. It's about spending money. People with a lot of money will sue people with less money in order to take them out of the game, which is the real reason for a lawsuit. It's about who has more money to keep going. And as a filmmaker, when you're starting out, you don't have any money. So a lawsuit is like, whether I win or lose, I lose, because it's the money that I'm spending. The other side doesn't care. They have millions of dollars. So at the end of the day, you have to learn the hard way to, you know, to eat your pride in certain instances and just let it go. Right. You know, and I learned the hard way, you know, but yeah, I mean, that's how you learn, really.
Right. As a filmmaker, or like especially a writer, how can you protect yourself from, let's say, someone, you know, taking your screenplay, or, you know, not giving you the credit? Or I've had my own legal issues with that stuff as well.
You can't. So. There is no 100% guarantee that you can protect yourself. It doesn't exist. Yeah. Okay. If a company wants to steal your screenplay, they will. They'll just change a few things. And if you have the ability to fight them and you have a lot of money to fight them, then yes. Otherwise, you're shit out of luck. I went through it. Nothing is original anymore. Everything is copied from some. I mean, look, I'm not going to name the singer. There's a singer. She's really famous. And people ask her, how'd you come up with the idea for the song? She said, oh, you know, I was taking a shower and it just hit me. And then a video comes out years later from Africa about these tribal guys singing the exact same tune and song that she just stole it. Right? But nobody knew until like 6-7 years after, right?
Yeah. So, I think there's this famous line in Margin Call. I think it's Margin Call and Jeremy Irons. You're either first, you're the best, or you stole it. That's how you become.
There is nothing original anymore, unfortunately.
Right.
And if you think it is, you're wrong. It isn't. Right. Everything is copied or remade from something else.
Or it's a reinvention.
Or it's a book. Or it's a book that they took and, you know, made a movie out of it. But really, there's nothing original. Really, there isn't. Sure, they can take an idea and then use a part of it to do something, but there is nowhere to 100% protect yourself. I mean, listen, you can write something and get it to the Copyright Office and register it, right? In Library of Congress. That's the only legal. The Writers Guild is not exactly legal. It doesn't stand up in court, but it's a good way to show that you registered something. So you should do that too. But Copyright Office is really the legal way to do it. But if somebody wants to steal your idea, they can just change it and rewrite something else. Happens all the time.
Right.
All the time. I mean, I'm not going to name people because these are big people. I mean, everything is stolen. I mean, a lot of the stuff, even the big guys, they steal it and they'll rewrite it. I mean, some guys are so shameful, they won't even change it. They just release it. I mean, it's happened too, you know. But I mean, when you're very powerful and you have a certain, backing, it's really hard to go after people. I mean, look at the lady that wrote, I mean, this is the biggest, I think, injustice ever made. The woman that wrote Terminator, the first Terminator, also wrote the first Matrix.
Yes. I remember.
Her name is nowhere on the movie. Not even close. Now, if you look at the Terminators after the first one, they're all very different. If you look at the Matrix after the first one, they're all very different. And she's an African-American lady, right, who wrote it. There's no question. There's no doubt she didn't write it. I mean, it's all over the place. Unfortunately, when she wrote them, she was not knowledgeable enough to pick the right people to protect her. So she probably sold those rights for pennies.
Okay.
And didn't even get a credit for them because Matrix came out of the Terminator. Neo in Terminator is the guy in Matrix. But nobody knows that. She does because she wrote him.
Oh, wow. I did not know this.
And yeah, I mean, you can go online and Google it. You'll see it. And she got screwed. I mean, these movies, these two franchises have made hundreds and billions of dollars. And none of that money went to her. Not a penny. And she didn't even get a credit on any of the movies. So, I mean, that's how bad it is.
Right.
If you're not smart enough, find somebody who is to protect you. Because, it's very easy to get screwed. Everybody's been screwed. I have.
Yes, I have.
I'm smart. I mean, I won't even name the thing. I did a TV show. It was a big show. And I was too busy directing. And I worked with a company that had a deal with the network. I didn't have a deal with the network. I had a deal with the company. The company had a deal with the network. So my last paycheck was about $200,000. I got stiffed. The company filed bankruptcy. They stole my money. Now I go to my agent. My agent's like, well, there's nothing we can really do, because you don't have a deal with the network. You can't sue the network. The network doesn't have a deal with you. You have a deal with the company, so you can go after the company.
Right.
But the company filed bankruptcy. So what am I going to get? I'd eat my pride and swallow the $200,000 that I was deserved and not get it. Is the company still in business? Yeah, sure. Those guys are still in business. It happens to the best of us. I knew this stuff, but sometimes you drop the ball. You're too busy doing other stuff. Like I was directing and I forgot, but I made some money out of the show, but the biggest chunk was the last $200K. It's a little over $2K. It was like $220K that I didn't get. And, it's a lot of money, but what are you going to do? I'm not going to sue the network because that's a losing battle.
Yeah, well, and they'll never hire you for anything. So yeah, it's not.
It happens. But yeah, I mean, there is nowhere to protect yourself. All you can do is register it, copyright it, But listen, if somebody wants to steal something, there's nothing you can do. They'll take a piece of it. They'll change the story a little bit. They'll change some of the logistics of it and release it. And if the show becomes a really, really big show or TV show, you do have a little bit of a chance to go after them and settle with them, and they'll give you a little bit of money if they feel like they don't want to fight you, Right. But at the end of the day, small fish can never fight the big fish. The big fish will just swallow the small fish. And that's really what happens 99% of the time, Or you're not going to find a lawyer that'll defend you. I mean, don't forget, lawyers in LA are not like the lawyers in the rest of the country or the world. They have no shame. Because these lawyers are also producers. Right. They're managers. You understand? They have ulterior motives. Most lawyers.
Yes.
And to think for a lawyer to go after a studio is bad business.
Right.
Because that's where most of the clients are coming from. And this woman from Terminator, she got screwed by her own lawyer. Who changed the date for the appearance, so she missed it.
Oh, wow.
Deliberately. I mean, she told me part of it. What's true, what's not, I don't know. But all I know is she never got $1 out of those movies or a credit. And we know she wrote the books and she wrote the movies. I mean, everybody knows that. She's done a lot of appearances, and I met her a couple of times, and she's a smart, kind woman. She's a lot older now, but I mean, it happens to a lot of people. But there's nowhere to protect yourself. There isn't.
Right. You just have to do the best.
Take the right steps, and then just keep an eye on it.
Well, as my lawyer says, you can have anyone write a contract, or sign a contract, but signing a contract only keeps an honest person honest. If they're gonna screw you to begin with, then
look. If somebody wants to screw you, you can sign all the contracts you want in the world.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
so. Anyways, we're going to be wrapping up soon. So let's maybe focus on something positive. So you have your new movie coming out when, or your
TV
new TV show?
Yeah. My new movie. I'm shooting a movie in Colombia actually later this summer. In Medellin.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that. Yeah. I love Colombia. It's a beautiful country. So I'm actually heading back in a few days to set everything up.
Okay.
And that'll be my first film. I've never shot in Latin America before, or South America. I don't know.
Okay. And what's that about? Can you tell us? Or?
It's I wrote this script several years ago for a studio, and they optioned it, and then I took it back and turned around about 4 years ago. I've been trying to make this movie, but every time I get close, something happens. I've had great cast every time attached to it, and somehow I just, it's all about timing, right?
Right.
So now I think I'm going to shoot it in Colombia and see what happens. Sure. It's an action movie. It's called Assassin Number One. I wrote it as a trilogy for the studio, for one of the big companies, and it's never been done before. It's been done before, but it's an all-out action, visual effects-driven film. Something commercially is very viable.
Okay, awesome. And how do people find you online, or how do people reach out to you, or you don't want anyone talking to you?
I'm easy to find. You can just Google me.
Okay.
There's no privacy left anymore, The phone number everything shows up, like, really? But you can also go to my website, syndicatemedia.org. A lot of my movies are on there,
Okay.
And but yeah, I mean, one thing I always say is, if you want to do something, just do it. Don't wait for other people, because nobody's coming to help you. The idea that you want other people to help you, don't wait. Let them come when they come, but you should be doing stuff on your own.
Yeah, you need to be creating momentum. I find
nobody wants to hire somebody who's not doing anything. It's like, if you're shooting a movie, people will hire you for their movies because you're already making one.
Right.
Somehow people feel more comfortable if you're working, that you deserve to work more, compared to when you're not working. Nobody wants to hire you. I think if you want to do something, just get off your ass, and just go out there and shoot it. Take your phone, and I don't care if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. It's an experiment you're doing.
Well, yeah. Well, in every project you'll get better at, but if you don't do it, you won't get better.
If you want to be a writer, just write. Just write. Forget the format right now. Forget anything. Just put everything in your mind on paper, and then figure out the format. If you're going to write a book as a first person, great. Writing a script, you have to write as a third person. It's a little bit more complicated. For that, you can read a book. But a book will not make you creative. A book will just guide you in the concept of how to break it apart.
Technical stuff.
That's right. Yes. So, do it. You can take writing classes. I mean, you don't have to go to a film school to learn how to write.
Exactly.
You can take Hollywood. There's a lot of amazing writers in Hollywood have their own writing classes. UCLA has an extension program.
I've taken classes at UCLA for writing. Yes.
I don't particularly believe in those UCLA extensions, but there are some classes that are good.
I enjoyed my class. I thought it was very, very good.
Like I say, you can't get ahead if you're not doing it. Just go out there and shoot something. I mean, look at everybody who's on TikTok and making videos now. That's a great way to learn.
Definitely.
Making these videos. I mean, these kids are so good at it. They put the videos on. I mean, now you take that video, instead of being 30 seconds, make it 3 minutes. Then make it 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour and a half. There's your movie.
Right.
So I think the technology is there. and it's a lot easier to show people what you can do compared to when I was a kid, which cost a fortune to do that. You know, so I think if you're gonna do something, just do it. Don't wait for other people. That's all I can say.
Okay, and
Cool.
with that,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Emilio
welcome.
Ferrari, for being
All right.
on Shout Out with Sage today. You gave us a lot of really wise and knowledgeable info. So I'm sure I'll see you out and about. And I know you have your little doggy in there. Hi, Mr.
Yeah,
Wiggles.
he's in the car with me.
Hi, Mr. Wiggles. How are you? Okay.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Sage Stevens. This is Shout Out with Sage. Thanks for being here today. And join me every Wednesday at 4 live and on Streaminn HUBB Radio. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Stay dry in LA. Bye.